Tyree Marshall, and I'm an artistic associate at Skylight Theater Company. Welcome to Skylight Live. Also, welcome to our first Beyond Conversations for Lavender Men by Roger Q. Mason, which opened on August 6th and is closing on September 4th. So if you haven't already seen it, get your tickets. Visit our website, y'all, because you will miss out on truly a gem. It's so great, and it means so much to me. This piece I connect with so much, and not only that, I connect with the artists that cultivated it. So please go to our website, buy your ticket. Maybe you'll see me there. But you're here now, and I'm so happy that you decided to tune in. I hope you're relaxing. I hope you're having maybe a tea, maybe even a cocktail. Ooh, scandalous. But tonight, the category is gender play. You see what I did there? Yeah, I need to stop. I'm working, I need to focus. But when I was talking to Roger Q. Mason about some topics for panels surrounding Lavender Men, a lot of things came up. So gender play, gender performance, gender performativity came up. And we thought, wouldn't it be amazing to have a group of folks who are so amazingly talented and so knowledgeable to chat about different facets of performance in which gender play live. Also talk about the history of gender play, whether it be on stage or film, also art just in general. And then also we can't do this without honoring the amazing kings and queens of drag. We can't do that, right? So I'm so excited for the guests that we have tonight. They are really wonderful, but I'm also super excited for our moderator this evening because not only is she a talented actor on stage, on screen, she's also a friend from CalArts, but the list goes on. She's also a drag king. She's also a soccer coach, and she's also, drumroll, one of the CEOs of the first ever queer management and production agency ever. Isn't that insane? That's so awesome. I'm so happy, and I've always looked up to her because she's truly she's incomparable. She's amazing. And I am so honored to say, welcome, Noga Wind.
Hello. Good evening. We are so excited to be here for this amazing panel. I'm so excited for everyone to hear these amazing speakers. My name is Noga Wind. I know Tyree already gave a little bit of an introduction. I would love to start us off so we can meet these amazing panelists and hear a little bit about their work. And so I would love if each of you could introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about your work. And also I would love if you could talk a little bit about how gender performance or gender exploration is part of your artistic practice or professional life or passion, or however you want to kind of bring it into the conversation with introducing yourself. So let's start with Alex.
Cool. Hey all, I am Alex Vermillion. My pronouns are Zer and Zers. I'm currently based in Los Angeles. I'm a dramaturg, writer, and artist, and I work right now at Play on Shakespeare, which is a translation experiment. And I'm really enjoying doing dramaturgy and writing for them. I also recently wrapped up a mini film series called Harry Potter and the Transgender Witch. So pretty much most of the work that I do is centered around my queer identity and also just exploring gender performance and gender identity. And right now I'm working on my doctorate degree at Yale School of Drama, and I'm focusing on the intersection of video games, dramaturgy, and really looking at identity politics, specifically queerness in that work. So I hope that answered your question.
It definitely did, and it sparked
Beautiful.
6 other questions that I will have, and we'll
Amazing.
see if we can squeeze in as well.
Beautiful.
Lola.
Hey, I'm Lo or Lola, and pronouns are they, them, and I'm a director, writer, and performer, and I have a focus on immersive works as far as live performance and genre films. And especially in genre films, I've always been really drawn to telling those stories with a queer perspective, even before, I knew what was going on with myself. I think that was something I was exploring in my work. I'm currently working on 2 horrors that explore gender identity and queerness, and made a Western. Like I directed a musical set in Berlin with a lot of gender fuckery. Are we allowed to use curse words? I just did. Well, there we go.
Go for it.
And yeah, it's a huge part of both my personal life and my career. And I also just love drag. That's me.
Don't we all? The love for drag is definitely unanimous, I think, in this group. Thank you, Lola. Ser.
Thank you, Noga. Yeah, I'm Ser Anzoategui, and I'm they, them, and I'm a writer primarily. I'm a stand-up comic right now, and I used to do theater. I used to do solo performance. I'm an actor and I work in television. I'm gonna shoot something in a couple weeks. I'm gonna come out on something probably early next year or something. I'll just like, if you follow me on social media, then I could, post about things when they happen. But I stopped doing theater because there was no space for me. Actually, Skylight Theater is one of the theaters that would never accept me prior to this leadership. And I'm upset still from that. And I feel that as someone who is older and have paved the way, I think that I deserve respect. Not when I die, like Sylvia Rivera. I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to be poor. I want my flowers now. And I'm stating it. And I know that maybe it's controversial what I'm saying, but I'm older than a lot of people. I've been around and you haven't killed me yet. But it was the same thing with many other theaters. Highways, Celebration, this theater, never would step foot, wouldn't even be, I would just non-existent. I'm non-existent to the older people that ran it. So for me to be here is part of my, we're here, we're doing it and everything. And I appreciate Armando. And I really hope that I've been out for, like a handful of years from the theater doing television where they were paying me. And not living off of my like neighbor's electricity, being a theater artist, suffering and people being discriminate against me and not allowing me to audition for things, Center Theater Group. So I don't care anymore. I'm just being honest. And I'm here as someone different, to be completely honest and angry and upset and hurt. And I still carry that. And so I don't want to like coerce other movements' language. So, but I'm not gonna say the word because I feel like was appropriating the black people's struggles and stuff. So I just say, you all owe me.
I appreciate you saying this, because I think it is really important to talk about, because we can't really talk about gender exploration and what's happening in media without talking about class and without talking about accessibility and who has which doors are open for us and who within our community, who are those doors open to and available to, and definitely where we were 20 years ago versus 10 years ago versus now. There's a lot of change happening, and there's definitely a lot more access happening to certain parts of our community, but not everyone. And so I appreciate you mentioning that, because that is something that needs to be said. And we need to acknowledge that there is still a very big gap in terms of, especially when it comes to theater, who has access and who can produce work, and, where does that funding come from? And if, artists don't have to choose between being able to pay their rent and creating their art. And so how can we make, still give room for queer folks to create radical and expansive art when it comes to gender and playing with gender. And I'm excited for, Roger Q Mason is doing some really amazing work, and we're so excited to be part of this panel that is connected to Lavender Man. And we really encourage everyone to go see it, because this is such an exciting piece. So yeah, let's dive into some important conversations. I'm glad you set the way with like blazing fires. I'm here to meet you at 10, and let's go. I'm excited to talk about some stuff. Let's stir the pot. Let's talk about the things that maybe might be a little more challenging and might be more confusing or controversial. This is a space for conversation, and I'm really excited about this panel. So thank you all. So let's just dive right in. I would love to hear, and this is actually connected, Sarah, to what you were just talking about, but I would love to hear kind of from everyone on this one briefly, maybe, what are the advances that we do see in gender performance or gender exploration in media today that you are excited about, that you are thrilled to see, that has, enlightened you or warmed your heart or excited you? And where are the areas that you would like to see more growth? So this is definitely, Alex, if you want to, I see you nodding your head, if you want to start us off. And Seth, I'm sure this will be continuing your train of thought from before, but I would love for you to expand more on that too as well. Okay. Alex, go ahead.
So, I mean, the first and the most basic thing is that gender performativity isn't something that just happens on the stage or on the screen. It is something that each of us do every single day in our daily lives. So when the pandemic hit, I downloaded TikTok, as many of us did. And it was so heartwarming to see so many folks, especially in their like late teens, early 20s, really exploring gender and having fun with it and making dances and showing off fashion and doing all the things that at that time in my life, I was starting to do as well, but it was mostly in clubs, and it was mostly in other queer spaces, and it was mostly in, very curated environments where I felt like I had a support system and I was safe. And now we're seeing so many more be able to like just do this from their homes or, walk down the street. So I think that social media has been really wonderful in that way of just providing access to knowledge and providing a accessible community online for people to really start playing with that and experimenting with it. The challenge that I see right now is actually still in the theater, as Sarah was saying, because it's not just the performances that we see, it's really the audience. I have been to so many productions where, I was told this is a queer piece. It's, we have a lot of queer artists. You should come see this, especially as like a trans non-binary person. And I go and I'm just surrounded by cishet people who see the show as almost a joke or a facade or a fantasy and not recognize that they might in fact be sitting next to people who are reflected on the stage. So that's one part that I think we really could start working on, is actually cultivating those safe spaces that we have in our community created. If the theaters could start opening up those spaces, we might actually see that audience reflected. There's a lot more that I have to say, but I'll pause it there.
Thank you. Lola, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I agree with much of what everyone is saying. And I think that I am at a point of exhaustion in my own career where I've really dedicated the last few decades of my life to this, and have, especially for Los Angeles, the fact that I made a living as a theater maker is kind of, there is that trick of like, you're so lucky, that can play into exploitation and us accepting less than we deserve. And I think that, I definitely had that going on to a certain extent and just really hit a wall with it and saw how I was playing into my own stuff over the last couple of years. And I came out about a year and a half ago publicly. And I was also like on an EDIA committee and found that incredibly frustrating because it was like a lot of talk with zero action. And it was very clear to me after just hours and hours of really doing work with this theater company that it was just sort of it was just for face. It was a performance, you know,
Right.
it was it was the worst kind of performance. And the proof is in the pudding. And I think that it is the only reason I did this is because it is attached to Lavender Men, and I believe in Roger so deeply. But having said that, I do note that, you know, Roger is the only gender nonconforming person in that cast, and you know, there's a lot of there's still a certain masculine gaze that I feel like is, and this is not about Lavender Men, but rather about the selection process, and it is ingrained in us all. But you know, who that person might share the stage with, and like, is there a balance? Like, are we seeing a lot of that? And I just, in theater generally, we'll see these like panels where we're allowed to talk, but we're not given much space to actually do things, and we're not paid. And I think that that is something I want to see a lot more of, is us, like, you know, like putting their money forth and supporting these stories more and more. And it's just, it is frustrating. I'm with you, Seth. It's just, it's odd. But I agree with Alex. I think the most radical stuff I'm seeing is on TikTok, and it's in the cabaret, which I kind of love as like a theater history nerd, that there is like this old school thing of the cabaret being the most radical place. And I think that theater people can have this image of ourselves as being this, like, we're doing really radical stuff. But to be honest, TV and film is being far more radical as far as gender. Seeing Ser on Vida as such an important character is thrilling to me. And, you know, seeing people on stage and also sort of the TikTok version of their drag performances. I have a dear friend, Dandy, that does this thing called Dandy and Friends that is very much in community with a lot of people who explore drag in a gender kind of neutral and gender fun way. And I love the aspect of community that Dandy brings in. And there's a togetherness that gives me a lot of hope when I see stuff like that. And I think that that's what we want to be doing in theater. Like, that's what we pretend to be doing often, is like, we're telling stories to bring people together and make the world a better place. And I'm seeing it, but I'm not seeing it a lot in theater.
And it's interesting because we have seen historically, right, as queer people, our spaces were so and are so performance centered, right? And if we're thinking about the history with drag and burlesque and cabaret, and how much queerness and gender play historically was there, you know, the ball scene, right? There's so much exploration and joy and survival that is integral to our community in performance, that was totally, you know, coexisted with theater, but not in those mainstream high paying places. And we definitely I would love to touch a little bit about some of the stuff that y'all have already mentioned, but I want to give some room for Seth also to comment on this, on what are the things that are exciting you that you're seeing in media, and what are the things and where are the areas specifically that you would really love to see more growth in.
How many of y'all have watched Vida? Really?
Not yet, but I need to. I know.
I was just asking. I just wanted to know. I was surprised that all of you have watched, like the ones that did, like Lola. No, because I know Lola from a long time ago, so we know each other. And I love you so much, and I also love y'all. Like, trust me, I have a lot of love. So I want y'all to know, and everybody watching, that I do love you, and I do have a lot of love for my communities, my intersectional communities, my theater artists, whatever race and gender. I'm so exhausted that I can no longer hold back the truth. I no longer seek to get employed in the theater because people don't want to hear me talk the truth. Because that's why I'm going to say it. You're not going to hire me anyway. Might as well say it. So here's where I'm at. I was doing solo theater and exploring for 10 years. I did my solo show called Ser. And that's when I said, after so long, that's the perfect name for me, to rename myself where I have found my gender and discover it by playing with all these characters and voices and like, then learning as I'm doing it and going like, and I had nobody except for Walter Mercado from when I was younger, except for people you see here and there that are, but there's nothing like it is now. And like, I say that like an old person, that's how it is. Like progress does happen, you know, and even in the theater, but in New York, I'm seeing non-binary cast. West Side Story, the film, had a non-binary actor in it who had a lot of screen time. You know, there's New York is doing stuff, but are they treating the actor? I don't think so. I read some things that the actors are being treated like crap. There is a lot of work to be done. People want to call and claim themselves to be allies while they're in the process, and they just don't want to talk about income inequality. They don't want to talk about things that are really health access to healthcare. We cannot talk to each other hello at all without that person even starting to acknowledge all of that stuff. And nobody want to have that conversation. Well, I don't want to work with those people. I'm alone. So that's fine. I'm a solo performer, right? That's fine. But I found myself through doing it and through the audiences that I love, and I love performing. That's me, but me is the gender. Me is all of the things. Me is performance all of the time. Me is writing constantly. Me is that, you know, I am Ser. That is who I am. There is no separation. There is none.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. I think that, you know, I think Terry probably mentioned I founded and co-founded and own the first queer, all-inclusive queer management agency in Hollywood. And one of the things that as a company we're really passionate about is exactly this question of accessibility. I think there's so much conversation from casting, even with film and TV, where we do see more growth, that you know, is saying we're looking for trans women of color. We're looking for this. We couldn't find the statement of we couldn't find.
Or they're looking, but they don't want Latinx. Bottom line.
Right. Well, they're looking,
but other people, not Latinx. Why we take their jobs? Oh, but James Franco's playing for Fidel Castro. Give me a break.
Right.
Get out of here.
Absolutely.
I'm tired of, except for people like myself and others that are indigenous and Afro Latinx. I'm tired because white people, excuse me, but I'm saying white, trans, and non-binary people will not watch. A lot of times they do, but a lot of times they do not watch Latinx shows. They do not care about Latinx stories. That is the truth. And I've ran into that in television a lot, you know, and it translates to like theater, solo performance. Like my people are the Latinx people, whether they want to admit it that I'm part of their community or not, whether they're like homophobic, trans, or whatever, we're in it. And we're in the same community too. We're all in intersectional communities, you know, and it's just hard. But anyway, I get upset.
Yes.
But, and I'm just expressing, but go ahead.
No, I agree with you, because what I was going to say was that part of the conversation that I think is really lacking when we're talking about inclusion and accessibility is how inaccessible pursuing this career is, right? Pursuing a career as a performer is a really expensive endeavor, especially here in Los Angeles. Headshots and classes and having the kind of job that can allow you to pursue this career is really available for people who have financial security, or, you know, and definitely not if you're prioritizing right now, you know, saving up your money for surgeries or hormones or all that stuff. So we definitely don't have enough of a conversation about how do we make theater, film and TV also more accessible for our community, and it's deeply, deeply classist.
I have an idea. Look at the statistics. If I get paid, if I experience 3 to 4 times the unemployment rate, pay me 3 to 4 times more than the
Come on.
Bottom line, look at the statistics and pay us. Bottom line, I don't. Okay, sorry.
I think I agree. I think there can be complete reimagining. What we need to be thinking is, how do we reimagine, right? What are the systems in place, rather than trying to just create reform and do these small changes in systems that don't really change anything. And just Lola, like you were mentioning, with a lot of these equity and diversity, you know, panels, it's really just for talk, or, you know, groups.
I'm tired of
it's really just for talk, and it's not really coming in with these strong practical ideas. So I would love to jump into our next question, because I know that our time's going to run out, and I want to be able to talk about some of the other things that we are all excited to talk about. I would love to hear from y'all about, what do you think gender bending or gender exploration, how can gender bending and gender exploration can expand and teach folks who don't identify as LGBTQIA+. So I know we have people watching who, are not queer, and I believe that everyone can grow from drag. I personally believe that everyone at some point in their life should try drag, whether you are straight or cis. I believe that we all are so burdened by the patriarchy that everyone can grow and learn and expand from playing with drag. I think personally, to me, that is something that I encourage everyone to play with, and is such a learning point, I think, for everyone. But I would love to hear, what do you think our allies and our cis and straight friends can learn from gender exploration? Lola?
I think for me, drag is an expression of like pure joy that is coming. It's an authentic expression in a way that you don't see a lot. And there's I think just that expression alone is an invitation. That's how I viewed it. Even before I came out, there is that throwing out a lifesaver to people who are not able to access their own joy. And that comes from them, not the joy that you're told to have, not the dress that you're told to wear, or the tie that you're told to wear, or the way that you're told to speak. I think that everyone, regardless, could benefit from having a more authentic awareness of what would bring them joy, and that coming from them, and that being a genuine, gorgeous expression of like what makes them a treasure. And
yes, I love that.
Lights me up, and I think that it is also terrifying, and to a lot of people, and like I think that seeing bravery is intoxicating always, and it is an invitation to be brave. It can be, and I think that drag can make us all a little braver, and maybe see the beauty in ourselves, regardless of who you are.
I love that. That is such a beautiful answer. And I think that also is that's like the double-edged sword, right? I think that's what also people find so threatening about drag, is it's if this person is so out and incredible, and for me, I can say that for me, drag changed my life. I grew up in Jerusalem, where we had one gay bar, and I remember going in there at 16, and huddled on a Monday, these 4 queens would come in from another city to perform, and I remember seeing this drag queen and thinking, as at 15, 16, like, oh my God, if she can be that here in this small city, in this small town, I can be just the simple version of me. And I think that there is so much liberation and joy, just as you said, that drag can offer us, that I think is so exciting, but it is so scary. And I think definitely is what makes people have these visceral responses also to queerness. Is obviously rooted in deep transphobia as well. But I would love to hear, Seth, if you want to talk a little bit about what you think our friends, our allies can learn and grow from gender exploration.
Well, we mentioned drag. Why can't it be part of bachelor like send-offs? Sure. What it's called, bachelor parties?
Yeah.
We're at parties or whatever.
I love that.
Make it normal. Yes.
Like drag for bachelorettes or bachelor parties. I love that.
Like somehow like sneaking into normalizing that, like for cis straight folks, because I really would like them to get a get out of jail free card out of the gender prison that we live in, or we don't realize this. So I would say yes. And I think also seeing like the lavender, like the lavender men, like, and it's specifically written by, Roger, and who they are, you know, and that's so important. And I think that because the writer is, you know, the creator, the mind of it. And when that person is the identity that you're like, come on, let's go watch this. I think that itself, just being a witness, is gonna make them blow their minds. Because I hate to say it, I know that we have allies and I love y'all. But it's like when I start to realize myself, I thought I was like, you know, really, no, there was layers, more layers and more layers. I realized how I was subscribing to these thoughts that eventually torture me. Suffering. Why suffer? And it's not that I'm trying to convert or do any of that, those terminologies, right, that people use. But it's like, really, like, we know that this is constructed, you know? And when people say yes to these ideas and they practice them and they perform them as them being who they are, they're not performing. They realize how much gender is a damn performance. And if they could just like maybe even switch it up, then they could walk in the little bit in our shoes. Like if they were like, oh yeah, well, if I try this, yeah, go ahead and try to open up a bank account. Go ahead and try doing that. You'll see what we go through.
Right.
Like, you know,
and they'll understand how much they are bound by it too, right? It's like the gender exploration isn't just about liberating queer people who already identify, you know, under the queer umbrella. This understanding that we're all going to be liberated. Our allies are going to be liberated too when they're able to expand and explore and play and get to know themselves better, right? They'll get to know, understand who they are. Alex, if you want to kind of jump in as well.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I'm so agreeing with everything you both have said, because just to go back to drag, when I first, around the time I was first coming out, is around the first time I was seeing drag shows. And when I came out, I thought, okay, I'm coming out. This is my body now. This is how people view me. So if I want to be X, Y, and Z, I have to cut my hair. I have to get rid of all my clothes. I have to buy a whole new wardrobe, and I have no money for that. I have to do like so many things to fit the idea of what non-binary is, that drag finally allowed me to just say, fuck that idea, and let's play with this over here. And this doesn't feel right. So now let's play with this, and this doesn't feel right. And what about this? And I ended up doing mostly monster drag for like most of my drag scene, which is just creating big fae-like creatures and finally allowing myself to feel in my femininity without saying, to be feminine, you have to be this. So it's only actually been recently that I gave myself permission again to say, you can grow your hair out. You can wear makeup, you can wear whatever you want, because ultimately it's about me fitting in my own shoes. And I think that kind of performance play and experimentation is useful for everyone, for anyone, whether it's role play in the bedroom with your partner, or whether it's going to the mall and trying on something that you've never tried on before. Like, those are all types of performing and having fun and getting rid of the shame that just drapes over us our whole lives. So once you can take off that layer, if you still say, yeah, I tried this on, it didn't quite fit, and I'm still cis, but I understand now. And that's ultimately where we want to get to, is that taking off the shame and seeing other people empathetically and saying, you know, I did that, I tried that too. And now maybe we can have this conversation.
Go for it, Lola.
Yeah, I just saw so much of myself, and I think that I'm only just now sitting here that I'm realizing that I think that I was probably drawn to theater and performance in general because I was non-binary and didn't have a way of dealing with how bad I was at being a girl. So I have these memories of just like watching women and being like, you know, and just trying to nail that thing, and just having this awareness that I just couldn't get it, and I didn't work. And then as a performer, it was this sticky thing between like, I would take things personally and feel like that was the thing that was keeping me from getting the role or something. And it's funny because since coming out, I feel like I'm a better actor at playing women than ever because it's just like, oh, it's a performance. Like I can play. I have lots of experience like performing a woman. So it freed me from that. But it just like Alex, that gave me such insight. I don't think everything you just said like really allowed me to see myself. And I also just everything we're saying is making me circle back to Lavender Men and Roger, and just thinking about how with Roger, what I feel is really special about that show, just to echo what Sarah was saying, is that it comes from them. Like Roger, like it's not drag, you know, it's like legit theater, and it's Roger. It is just so grounded in the authenticity. And I think that there is a way in which that is really exciting to me to see that and to see that character, and it not, as much as I love the bigness and the huge exploration of drag, like having that sort of character grounded in a sort of more traditional storytelling for theater is really thrilling.
And yeah, I don't know if oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I agree. And I think that also with, you know, and when we look at gender exploration, we definitely can see that now with casting on film and TV, as there's more play, as there's more room when they're bringing in, they want to cast more non-binary people. The way they look at non-binary people is still very binary. So it's still like, I know that as an actor, for me, though I identify as non-binary, when I had longer hair, I would never get called in for the non-binary roles. As soon as I cut my hair, I would get called in for the non-binary roles, because casting still has a very binary understanding of what non-binary means, which is, oh, you need to look in this very specific, like, you know, there's like very specific markers that to them feel like, oh, that's what non-binary means. And I think part of the exciting growth that hopefully we are expanding into with this TikTok generation, bringing forward people that show a complete range of what non-binary looks like, and keep expanding, you know, society to understanding gender and understanding that there is no one way to look like this, and you're not going to be able, it's not clockable, and it's not to be clockable. We exist in every capacity and in every way, and it's a journey, and it's constantly changing. Alex, what you want to jump in?
Well, I mean, I was just going to say, I don't know if any of y'all have actually worked with Roger before. I had the pleasure of working on Pleasure Men, and it was just a blast to work with another like queer person who just wanted to dig into like the messiness and grittiness. Like I think that's why I love watching Lavender Men, because I just had so much fun with how messy it was. And something that you just said, Noga, was that just, oh my God, I could have a whole rant on queerness and fatness. Like as a plus size queer person, that's another reason why I'm not going to get cast as non-binary. I can't shape shift. Right. I can't shed my skin for you, and I'm not going to. So if you want to cast me as me,
the no hips, gender neutral. Yeah.
And it's like, if I want to go like buy something at the store and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling really masked today, good luck for me, because there's bound to be nothing that'll fit my body. Or if like I want to be a little bit femme, it's going to come off as hyper femme because I can't control these hips. And you know what? I do like them. And so it's just like, it's an interesting, all these intersections that we go through, from disability to fatness to your race to your gender, it all coalesces. And what people want to see is just such a tiny little narrow version of people that do exist that just completely erases anyone else. And I mean, trust, like being non-binary 10 years ago, I came out, wow. But coming out like 10 years ago, every non-binary person I knew was super skinny and had like, it was just model and like, you know, and once I actually met other people who had closer to my body type, I was like, oh, okay, I can sit in here. I can be on the corner of the box. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, no, this is my box. We can all be in it together. We can sit in this hot tub and soak, but I'm not leaving. So
yes, I love that you're bringing that up. I think that is such an important conversation to talk about, in representation, and what are the very limited ways, again, that we see queerness today. And actually this segues into my next question that I would love to hear what y'all think about. But I would love to hear from each of you, what are the ways that gender performance or gender exploration challenges you? What are the things that you are challenged by, or, you know, that you're still curious about, or that you feel like you're still figuring out, or that, you know, you feel, you know, I would love to hear what are the things that you're kind of still, you know, working out the kinks for, you know, in your brain, in your heart. And then, you know, I would love to hear also then, with that, what are the ways that you would like to challenge others in the capacity of gender performance and gender play? But I would love first to touch a bit about what you all are challenged by.
I know I just spoke, but can I hop in? Because I'm still kind of
Go
feeling
for it.
fiery.
Yeah.
Intersectionality, period. Like intersectionality, because it's something that, like, if I can read as much as I want about queerness, I can practice as much queer performance as I want, I can talk about my own experience all day, but if I am not actively like dismantling my whiteness and like looking at what I have access to and what I don't have access to, and like really thinking about how those things form, I'm not actually looking at queerness as a whole. And that is also a challenge for a lot of others, especially in the queer community as well. We have to see each other from, you know, the different standpoints we come from. Class is such a huge barrier to being able to even like go to things. I mean, that's one thing that I struggle with right now is like, okay, I'm an artist, I'm a dramaturg, which already is a very underpaid, very erased position. How am I going to afford the $40 to go down to this show, plus the lift, plus buying my dinner if I have to downtown? Forget even having drinks, they're $40 a cup. Like, you know, you just go and you have to spend all this money to actually attend these events. So there are a lot of barriers that we're still struggling with. And like, bless these kind of panels that are free, and like, thank God that a lot of these live streams for theaters are becoming like free or really cheap, just very accessible to watch online. But I miss liveness that didn't cost me a part of my rent. You know, I miss being in spaces and in community with people who actually wanted to learn about each other and understand how our identities intersect. I have no interest in going into a queer space that is all white, because I'm not going to challenge myself and no one else is going to be challenged. You know, there's so many things we have to consider when we want to just explore ourselves and explore each other. So
I love that. Yeah. Lola said, you can jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on what Alex just said, but I don't know if it pertains to your question. But about, you know, how the challenges of gender, but I suppose the way I can tie it all together is that like so I've become a rich person over the last 2 years. And I know like you're not supposed to admit that when you're a rich person, like rich people will never say they're rich, which I find so weird, but I think that that's a tool of oppression. So I'll just say it, I'm rich. And I'm like kind of new here and figuring it out. And I can just see how like I am being able to say no to things that are exploitative. And because I'm rich, the stakes are just not as high for me. And I am able to take a stand, and I'm able to do all of these things, but I'm also able to see very clearly how, and I guess there was a time in which I was not, I do see how like that, I came out 1.5 years ago. And I think I could afford to, in a way. Like I could afford to without consequence. I could afford to be myself without consequence. I could afford to walk away from my career. And that ultimately, I did feel like at the back of my head that like I wanted to be myself, and that was more important than a career. And that was the decision I was making. But that's kind of depressing. And I guess my challenge is like, how do we find a way forward with all of this and bring all of these things into the pot and keep moving and like working together. And there is also the challenge of accessibility, but paying people, you know, and like making sure everyone is getting paid. And I think a lot of theater is still pandering to an older audience. And I don't mean age-wise. I mean, I think that theater is afraid to step forward because honestly, I see theater with a lot of, I think elderly people can be actually far more radical than we give them credit for because of ageism. But like these old models and old ideas, like I think like I want to challenge myself to keep making things like sexy and fun because honestly, like that I want to keep inviting all of us and like without hurting anyone and allowing the joy of gender play to be an invitation. And yeah, I don't know, that derailed and probably didn't make any sense, but here we are.
I think it totally did, and it's totally connected. It's totally connected. Seth, if you want to jump in on the question.
I don't know.
What are the
I'm
ways?
trying to live life, like challenges life. Oh, ageism, fat phobias, everywhere. Just everything. Just is like, I'm tired, pay me. Like that's just, I'm done. If you want to Venmo me, anyone watching, you can. Whatever, I'm just saying.
Drop your Venmo.
No,
Drop your Venmo.
No, I'll put it on my socials now because I'm just tired. I feel like people don't know who it's like walking to TV, they don't care what I did in theater. It's like that part of me doesn't exist. So I have to manage that, but it does exist and it did. But then, sometimes talk to like people who just came from some other state and they don't know anything. And then they're like, you're nobody, to them. And that's fine because everyone's got their own. But it's just like really from everywhere. I just think it's always challenging no matter what. I just want to work. I want to work on quality things with people who aren't going to oppress me, who aren't going to say that they're allies and then just stab me in the back and manipulate and do all the things that they do or pay me less than or whatever. I want to be paid fairly. I want to be paid for what I have done already in the past. Just forever. I want to retire now. Just kidding.
Yeah, I think there is. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to work, but it's just like now I don't have any place in the theater. Maybe I could apply for something. I don't really know anymore, but I'm at my, I don't have any more. That's it. I'm gonna be homeless soon. Like, that's it for me. So I don't care. I'll tell you what challenges are. That's my challenge. And it's constant. I'm older than you. And this is what you have to look forward to. If you're a brown person, yes, you're gonna be homeless again, maybe, depending on how much access you have and everybody and things that you know and people you please, whatever it may be, And so that's just it. But I just hope, and I'm just gonna stay like, I'm in my fire. I still love while I'm in my fire. So, and I'm trying to keep open to finding and being like literally meditating because that's all I have left. That and whatever left I have in my account. And be like, I pray for a miracle. I pray that someone says, you know what? We got this grant money. You want to do your show, but rewrite it and do it now and be like, this is who I am, a gender and do whatever. Yeah, because you're paying me to do it finally. And I don't have to starve or die for me to, do something. And in television, I don't know what's going on. So to be honest, what's going on? And the pandemic and everything like that. So I'm just thinking, should I just like go outside of everything and just do something completely get a double dual citizenship, move to another country like Italy, and be homeless there or do art in the street. I don't know. I'm just at the point where I need to change the way I think about, I don't know what it is. Like something's going to happen, right? Like when you think it's not going to happen, all of a sudden my show was produced at LATC for Seth and Armando was a production manager. Like things were like, what, this is happening? And it wasn't like, things weren't, and then it happens, and then you're like, no, and then it happens, or it doesn't, or it goes like, and it totally mind blows. What? So I'm just open to be blown away in a good way, be loved by my community, and I hope to also respect others and love all y'all at the same time. We have difficult conversations that we need to have. So thank you so much for the space and for this time. I really do appreciate it, even though I'm upset, and I'm really happy.
There's room to be upset. There's room to be upset, and
Thank
there's room to be
you.
rageful. There's room to be rageful. I think there's, like you can't oppress a community for decades and then give the microphone and then say be nice about what you've experienced. I think that if we are truly opening up and being given space to talk about our community and our experiences and what we've gone through, there needs to be room for the range of emotions that exist within that. And I think that what I do want to touch on that I think though is really special is I think that one of the things that I really stand behind is I believe that what you were just talking about being open and ready to expand and explore and reimagine. And that ability to me is a superpower that exists within queerness, within queer people, that queer people that live, that have, when you exist in the world and you're not able to see yourself reflected, you have to imagine, in a liminal space, what life is and what life could be. And it's something that you have to literally create with your mind, because it's not just given to you to copy and paste and have that, house with picket fence, whatever life, right? And I think that is a skill that as queer people, we hone from a really young age without understanding that we're honing it and realizing that skill, I really believe, is a superpower, because it really allows us to walk into whatever space it is, whatever it is in life, and be able to take a step back and say, how do I reimagine this? How do I think about this in new ways? How do I, take a step back and completely try something completely new? I know we have to almost wrap up. So I do want to touch about a couple of really quick things. I would love if we could go around and talk about queer people right now that are doing interesting work around gender exploration or gender identity or, gender play, whatever you want to put out there. People that you would like whoever's watching this to follow, to know about, who's right now inspiring you, that you're like, oh my God, read this person, follow this person. I would love to hear some names or a little bit. Alex, go for it.
Erika Ishii. If you don't know who Erika Ishii is, they are a D&D online streamer who creates the most wonderful, radical queer characters in D&D, some of the best ones that I've ever seen. And maybe I'm just a D&D nerd because I love games and storytelling, but they're amazing. And they also do cosplay and gender bend and have so much fun with that. So Erika, also LA based, just a fantastic human to follow and a fantastic, yeah, thank you, Seth. Just a fantastic human to follow, and is very outspoken about queerness and just has a lot of fun and a lot of love with the exploration. So that's my shout out.
I love that. Yes, come on, awesome. Sid, Lola.
Shout out to them Fatale, right?
Them Fatale, come on, them Fatale. Mm-hmm.
I really love Londa Lakes, and I love Rose Butch and Dandy, as I mentioned, and Roger Mason. I'm just gonna bring it back to Roger.
Yes, bring it back to Roger.
And Roger has a show, a podcast called is it Mrs. Rogers' Gayborhood? I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
And it's just delightful, and it's just such a wonderful way to also meet people in the community.
Yes, I would love to add Alok into that. Alok Vaidmanon, if you don't follow or read, they're brilliant and inspiring, and I think they have also a really great grasp on how to communicate to allies as well. I think they're a wonderful resource. Any other names people want to throw in?
Oh, Willow something. I'm blanking on. Hold on. Stand by. I can't find her.
I think in animation, it's really exciting right now. There are so many queer, non-binary trans, and even I was in this. I'm in this I voice the smaller role in Pinecone and Pony, which is a children's show full of like people of color and different shapes. And I play like this character that's thick and brown and non-binary. And I have a wife who's played by, it's Rachel, is it Gladys? No, Rachel House, right? She like a voice actress, and she's indigenous, like from New Zealand. And it was like, it's such a dope thing to be a part of. But the writer of that episode, her name's Pilot Puree. I'm probably saying it wrong, Piret, I believe. And they're amazing, and just learning about a lot of writers in animation who are just really representing so much of the spectrum, I guess you could say, of like our identity, like vastness.
Amazing.
The galactic.
Yeah, there's definitely stuff happening in animation and video games. I was hoping to get to ask Alex a little bit more about video games and gender, but
I do want to shout out Willow Defabau is the person I was thinking of, and she's the co-founder of Atmos. And I love the way that there's an intersection of nature and climate and activism, a lot of her writing and their writing, and it's great.
Yeah, I mean, Adrienne Marie Brown within that mix.
Oh,
yeah.
That was the next one on my list.
Everyone already knows Adrienne Marie Brown.
So many.
And if you don't, you should. Like, go buy all the books today.
I look at nature. Right. I just go out and be like, please, tree. Yes, Ruth.
Yeah, that was a huge part of it.
We reached the light. We reached the light.
Sure. Yeah, nature always grounds us in all of that. I think it's very powerful.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for your amazing takes and inputs and experiences, and sharing your thoughts and feelings. So honestly, I'm so grateful to have been able to be part of this panel with all three of you. I'll hand it over back to Tyree.
You're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Truly.
I want to double down on that and say thank you so much for everything tonight. Honestly, when I started producing these panels, I've only wanted to speak the truth, regardless of where I work. And I'm always about decolonizing theater. And so I'm in support. And I just want to say thank you so much. And I see you. And I hope that you know that. And I have a couple people to thank, but I really want to thank all of you for joining us. And I also want to thank these folks here. I try. Just because the lovely Roger Q. Mason came up with the idea for this panel with me, and Lovell Holder also helped me cultivate this. And if it weren't for them,
Lovell is amazing.
Yeah, we wouldn't have these beautiful faces here with us. And of course, I am about supporting this artist, creating such a beautiful work and showing everyone that authentically and defiantly loving yourself is the biggest FU to anybody that puts you down. So, so thank you all so much for coming. Thank you to Michael TEOLI for the music. Thank you, Judith Bourne, for PR. Thank you to the staff that has supported us bringing this panel together. And I hope that y'all go to our website and buy tickets to support Roger and support Lovell and support Lavender Man. We're running until September 4th. And I hope to see you there, because I'll be there a couple of times to just chat with everyone. I'd love to hear what you think. So all of y'all have a good night, get some rest, drink some water, stay cool, and be well.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.